very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Here are your headlines for tonight.
The headlines on Newsfirst.
Yoshitha and Karanagoda summoned by the Bribery Commission. Recruited to the Navy by altering minimum qualification limits. Training in the UK funded by the state. Gotabaya Rajapaksa goes before the Court of Appeal seeking an order to prevent his arrest on suspicion over the Easter Sunday attacks. Those who know the truth are the ones panicking, says the cabinet spokesperson. Saleh will never give his passwords to the CID director, says Gotabaya's former private secretary. Reveal what you know. Allow the law to take its course. Minister Nalinda responds. SLPP activities continue with Basil's blessings, says Namal.
On to your stories in detail now. Son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, Yoshitha Rajapaksa, has informed the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption that he is unable to appear before the Commission today. He has notified the Commission in writing that he is required to attend a court case being heard in the Court of Appeal today.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has currently launched an investigation into the process regarding Yoshitha Rajapaksa joining the Navy and receiving training in the United Kingdom.
After being informed of his inability to appear today, the Bribery Commission has directed Yoshitha Rajapaksa to present himself tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Navy commander at the time, Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karanagoda, was also summoned before the Bribery Commission today in connection with this incident. However, he stated that he had not received the letter pertaining to the summons. Accordingly, Vasantha Karanagoda had been instructed to appear before the Bribery Commission next week. What is the allegation against Yoshitha? On a day in September 2006, the then Navy commander Vasantha Karanagoda sent a letter to the British Naval Academy inquiring whether Yoshitha Rajapaksa could be enrolled into the academy. Responding to this, the academy informed him on a day in November of the same year that the relevant request could be fulfilled. However, the British Naval Academy indicated that they would not be providing a full scholarship for this and that a payment had to be made. According to investigations conducted by the Bribery Commission, it has been revealed that there is also an issue regarding the basic qualifications of Yoshitha Rajapaksa at the time he joined the Navy. To be recruited as a cadet officer, in the manner Yoshitha Rajapaksa joined, a candidate must have passed the advanced level examination in either the biological science or mathematics streams. The investigation by the Commission has revealed that since Yoshitha Rajapaksa had studied in the arts stream for his advanced levels, the qualifications initially recommended for recruitment to the relevant post were amended and recruitment was carried out after publishing new advertisements. In addition, a problematic situation had arisen regarding an ordinary level qualification at the time the recruitment was carried out in December, and that too was amended to match the qualifications held by Yoshitha Rajapaksa. Yoshitha Rajapaksa, the son of Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was recruited to the Navy in this manner, left for Great Britain in January 2007 and underwent training at the British Naval Academy for over a year and a half at state expense. What happened today? Yoshitha Rajapaksa had informed the Bribery Commission that he was unable to appear today due to a petition he filed in connection with another case being taken up for hearing before the Court of Appeal. The original case against Yoshitha has been filed over the illicit acquisition of properties and assets worth nearly 73 million rupees. Yoshitha Rajapaksa's grandmother, Daisy Forrest, who was a defendant in the original case, has been released from the lawsuit by now due to a health condition. Accordingly, in the case comprising 3 charges against him related to this process of asset acquisition, Yoshitha Rajapaksa has requested the Court of Appeal to deliver a ruling stating the charge of conspiracy cannot be maintained. Concluding the hearing of Yoshitha Rajapaksa's petition, the Court of Appeal announced today that its order will be delivered on the 3rd of July. The petition was taken up for hearing before a Court of Appeal bench presided over by Court of Appeal Judge Amal Ranaraja.
Former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has filed a writ petition in the Court of Appeal seeking a writ order to prevent his arrest in connection with the investigations into the Easter Sunday terror attacks.
The Inspector General of Police, Priyanda Veerasurya, Director of the Criminal Investigations Department, Shania Besekara, the officer in charge of its investigation unit, Madhava Gunawardhana, and the Attorney General have been named as respondents in the petition.
In this petition, which has been presented through Attorney-at-Law Sanath Wijewardena, Gotabaya Rajapaksa states that through reports published by the media recently, the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court has imposed a travel ban against him relevant to the investigations being conducted regarding the Easter Sunday terrorist attacks. The petition states that the respondents had obtained that travel ban against him by mentioning the facts that have been presented in the relevant investigations and that there is a possibility of him leaving the country. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has informed the court that as a result of this, information has been received that a risk has arisen of losing his personal liberty or of him being arrested. Pointing out that there is no connection of his to the terrorist attack carried out on Easter Sunday, the petitioner and former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has also stated that up to now, no investigative institution has conducted a questioning of him or a recording of statements from him relevant to those investigations. He informed the Court of Appeal that he is willing to give a statement relevant to this investigation at any time. It is stated in Gotabaya Rajapaksa's petition that he does not know any of the witnesses relevant to the investigation connected to the Easter Sunday terror attack and that he has no capability whatsoever to influence those witnesses. He points out that within this background, no requirement arises whatsoever to arrest or retain him under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. The petition states that these investigations are taking place based on a statement made to the British Channel 4 network by a person named Azad Maulana, who has fled to Switzerland seeking political asylum, and that he has not met that person at any instance and has not maintained any connection with him. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said in his petition that several recommendations had been issued against the current director of the Criminal Investigation Department, Shania Besekara, by the Commission of Inquiry to look into political victimization, which was appointed during the period he functioned as the president. It is also stated therein that as a result of this, Shania Besekara, who functions as the head of steering the investigation connected to the Easter Sunday terror attack incident, is likely to act with some hatred or malicious intention towards him. Accordingly, the former president points out that Shania Besekara has no capability to steer this investigation independently, and he has the capability to influence the investigative officers to arrest him at any moment. It is stated in his petition that no accusation has been levelled against him through the commissions appointed to look into the Easter Sunday terror attack, or through the lawsuit judgment that has been declared by the Supreme Court relevant to that incident. Accordingly, the petitioner has requested the Court of Appeal to issue an order to call before court the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed by former President Maithripala Sirisena to look into the Easter Sunday terror attack incident, the report of the investigation held by the Parliamentary Select Committee which looked into that attack, and the report of the Commission appointed to look into it after the statement Azad Maulana made to the Channel 4 network. In addition to that, Gotabaya Rajapaksa requests from the court to issue a writ order to the respondents preventing the arresting and retaining of him relevant to the investigations being conducted regarding the Easter Sunday terror attack. He has also requested an interim injunction order preventing the arresting and retaining of him until the petition is investigated and a final judgment is declared. Is there preparation to arrest Gotabaya Rajapaksa in connection with Easter Sunday attacks? Journalists questioned this during today's press conference held to announce cabinet decisions.
I
do not have facts in my hand yet regarding Gotabaya Rajapaksa's connection to the Easter Sunday attacks. Whether he will be arrested or not will be decided based on what is revealed during the investigations. That is a responsibility of the Criminal Investigation Department. Looking at how the investigations and inquiries are progressing, when this investigation goes in the right direction, someone might feel that it will eventually come towards them. Actually, I am not the one who knows that. It is known by those who are living in fear regarding the disclosure of those facts as the investigation proceeds correctly. Therefore, this is not something we discuss in the cabinet or anywhere else. The Criminal Investigation Department acts based on the evidence presented and the investigations. Sometimes people act guilty and panicked even before they are accused.
සමහර විට පුරාට කලින් කෙහෙල් කෙනාවට පන්නත් දන්නේ.
Meanwhile, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka today re-examined a complaint lodged by the wife of former State Intelligence Service Chief Suresh Saleh, who is currently undergoing treatment at the Colombo National Hospital under detention orders under the Prevention of Terrorism Act on suspicion of the Easter Sunday terror attacks. Officers of the Criminal Investigation Department and Suresh Saleh's wife appeared before the commission for this purpose. The Human Rights Commission stated that Suresh Saleh's wife lodged the complaint, pointing out that arresting and detaining her husband under the Prevention of Terrorism Act is incorrect and that the methodology used to investigate him as a suspect is also incorrect. The Human Rights Commission further mentioned that both parties had been summoned and investigated previously regarding this complaint as well. The cabinet spokesperson emphasized today that measures regarding Suresh Saleh are being taken strictly in accordance with the proper legal procedure.
Whenever Sirasa Saleh stated that he required certain medical treatments from time to time, those have been provided without any delay. Furthermore, opportunities have been granted for him to meet his relatives. Even now, to my knowledge, permission has been granted for relatives to visit him at the hospital. Additionally, meals are being provided by those relatives. In this manner, what he requests is being provided. To my knowledge, no special room has been constructed for him. He is being held in the exact same locations where those who were previously taken under detention orders were held. I am not aware of anyone who was there previously making such complaints. Perhaps they're saying that by defining the Easter Sunday attack as a political assassination. Regardless, what I have to say to that is, there is absolutely no need to panic. It is panic that complicates this matter. It will not cause any hindrance to the investigations. I saw someone, I think Sarathvita Sekara, saying that Suresh Saleh is keeping his mouth shut without betraying anyone. When statements like that are made, I think it is within those words that the public begins to get certain hints and clues as to what the connection here is. However, as I said that day, the best thing Suresh Saleh can do as an intelligence officer and a military officer is to disclose what he knows regarding the Easter Sunday attacks and extend cooperation to the security forces and the Criminal Investigation Department. It shouldn't be about fighting to change the criminal investigator. He should provide the information he knows that is required to assist the criminal investigation, provide the information contained in his laptop or phone. There is no sense in hiding them.
මා කියනවා මේ මොරපද ඉල්ලන්නේ පාස්වර්ඩ් එක ඉල්ලන්නේ මෙච්චර කල් යුද ත්‍රස්තවාදය අවසන් කිරීමේදී තිබුණු දත්ත ඒ රහස් තොරතුරු තියෙන්නේ ඔහුගේ පරිගණකයේ
If he worked as a government intelligence officer, that intelligence information is important to the government. Intelligence officers who are currently serving must inform the security forces and the Security Council if they know of any highly confidential intelligence information that could cause future harm to the country. So if he is not involved in it, what an intelligence officer should do for the country is to hand over the information. Intelligence information is handled with great discipline by those intelligence officials. It is not spoken of everywhere.
විමර්ශන කටයුතු මේ වන ඉහළ නිලධාරීන් දෙදෙනාත් මේ පාස්කු ජනාධිපති කොමිසමේ චෝදනාවට ලක් වූවන් කියලා ඒ චෝදනාවට ලක් වූ අය උන් සම්බන්ධයෙන් විමර්ශන කටයුතු සහ යම් යම් නිර්දේශ ඉදිරිපත් කරපු අය මේ පරීක්ෂණ කටයුතු ඉදිරියට කරගෙන යද්දී ඔවුන් අතින් සාධාරණයක් වෙයිද කියන කාරණේ තමයි ඔවුන් බරපතලව නගන චෝදනාව වෙන්නේ. කිසිම සත්‍යාවක් නැහැ.
There is absolutely no truth to that. On the contrary, it shows that they are conducting the investigation properly. That means you cannot provide the investigators that suspects demand. Before even starting these investigations, sometimes you have to conduct the investigation within the personnel who were already in those positions. Otherwise, if suspects start saying, like channeling a doctor or hiring a lawyer, that our criminal investigation must be conducted by this particular person, we won't be able to enforce the law. Therefore, the investigation must take place under the Ministry Secretary and under this director.
අමාත්‍යාංශ ලේකම්වරයා යටතේ මේ අධ්‍යක්ෂකයා යටතේ තමයි පරීක්ෂණ සිදු වෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, Sugishwara Bandara, the former private secretary to Gotabaya Rajapaksa, states that Suresh Saleh will under no circumstances provide the passwords for his mobile phone and laptop computer to the director of the Criminal Investigation Department, Shani Abesekara.
Why should Saleh give the passwords? Just because they ask for the passwords to my mobile phone, I can't just give them over. They need to obtain a court order for that. Shani Abesekara is not a court order. The password should absolutely never be given to a person like Shani Abesekara. Shani Abesekara is a traitor who betrays the country for diaspora money. It is better to give all the available information directly to the diaspora than to give the password to Shani Abesekara. It would be like saying, here, since the day Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected in 2005, these specific people actively contributed to ending the war. They met at these specific places. These specific people gave money. It is better to give all of that to the diaspora than to give it to Shani Abesekara. Therefore, do not place various pressure on Suresh Saleh and inconvenience him. Please, if you want passwords, if you want to search houses, or if you want to check his rectum or anything else, obtain a court order and do it within the judicial system.
එතුමාගේ මේ ගුද මාර්ග නෙමෙයි වෙන ඕන දෙයක් චෙක් කරන්න ඕන අධිකරණ නියෝගය අරගෙන අධිකරණ පද්ධතිය තුල කරන්න. එතුමා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඉහෙද? ඇයි එහෙම වෙන්නේ හේතුව? මිලින්ද බරගොඩ මහතාගේ ළඟ එතුමා රැකියාවක් කරලා තියෙනවා.
The thing is, he held a job under Milinda Moragoda, but just because he did a job there, Milinda Moragoda does not need to answer for these things. If there is a need to get something from Milinda Moragoda regarding why he gave a job to Suresh Saleh or what he did there, that is a matter for the Criminal Investigations Department to go and record a statement from him. Milinda Moragoda is providing all the necessary support and checking in on Suresh Saleh's family.
Meanwhile, opposition political parties and organizations are frequently assembling these days at the house of former chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Pires. In fact, a group had assembled in this manner and held a discussion yesterday afternoon as well. From the Samagi Janabala Vega, only Dayasiri Jayasekara participates in these discussions. At the end of yesterday's discussion, former Member of Parliament Premanansi Dolewata, while expressing views to the media, criticised the arrest of Suresh Saleh.
We do not have an issue regarding the Easter investigation or the judicial process, but the government's ministers and MPs are saying inside the parliament that there is evidence. However, having issued detention orders, the president is detaining Saleh very inhumanely. Then does the government, which came saying that they would completely remove the Prevention of Terrorism Act, have a moral right to keep a person detained under the PTA? It is said that this evidence exists, right? If so, file lawsuits.
Azad Sali, who participated in this discussion, recalled the manner in which he was kept detained by Suresh Saleh.
It was Saleh who had me locked up too. I was also inside for 8.5 months. So now they must also be feeling exactly how it feels. When you look at the way they took me and the way it was handled, this is the issue with governments. That is why no matter who the person is or what government is in power, things shouldn't be done that way. There is a proper procedure to arrest everyone fairly under one law. If things were done according to that procedure, no one would have any issue at all.
The Samaki Janabala Vegya did not officially participate in the discussions frequently held in the evenings at G.L. Pires' residence. However, Dayasiri Jayasekara, who was elected to Parliament from the Samaki Janabala Vegya, has been continuously working with his group during the recent period. So who is actually holding the leadership of the opposition now?
Dayasiri Jayasekara participated in the discussion held under the leadership of G.L. Pires yesterday evening as well. He also recently attended a seminar held in Kandy under the leadership of G.L. Pires. Is Dayasiri Jayasekara behaving in this manner in accordance with the stance of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya?
විපක්ෂ කාර්ය කිරීමේදී දැන් ජීවීඑල් පීරිස් මහත්තයාගේ විපක්ෂ මේ අර විපක්ෂ සන්දානයත් එක්ක එකතු වෙන්නේ නැහැ සජපේ එතකොට තනියම විපක්ෂයක් විදිහට නැගී සිටින්නද බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ දැන් ඒ වගේ මේ වගේ මීටින්ස් වලට දයාසිරි මන්ත්‍රීතුමා වගේ කට්ටිය සහභාගී වෙනවා එතකොට එයාලාට විරුද්ධව ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් ගන්න බව පේන්නේ නැහැ එතකොට ඒ යමින් තනියම විපක්ෂ විදිහට නැගී සිටලා කටයුතු කරන්නද බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මම හිතන්නේ සමගි ජන
At this moment, I think the primary objective of our Samagi Jana Balawegaya is to move forward by uniting with the United National Party. So what I say is, let them call for an election. Then everyone will be able to see how we form our alliances.
පක්ෂේ ප්‍රකාශක ප්‍රසාද් සිරිවර්ධන මහත්තයා වගේ තරුණ කතා කියනවා අපිට රනිල් සමග ගමනක් නැහැ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ දැන් මහලේකම්තුමා කියනවා අපි කම්බයින් වෙලා යන්න ඕනේ කියලා. මම නියෝජනය කරන මහනුවර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ
In the Kandy district that I represent, our current Pradesh Sabha members and all our party loyalists firmly believe that we must unite with the United National Party and move forward. In fact, at the grassroots level, they have already largely united.
ගොඩක් දුරට එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නේ.
Meanwhile, Nama Rajapaksa states that the Sri Lanka Podachana Peramana continues to operate with the blessings of Basil Rajapaksa.
Basil Rajapaksa සම්බන්ධයක් ඉදිරියේදී පක්ෂයට තියෙනවද නැත්නම් එතුමාගේ සම්බන්ධයක් ඉදිරියේදී පක්ෂයට
එතුමාගේ ආශිර්වාදය තියෙනවා.
Our party has his blessings. Beyond that, whether he engages in active politics or not is a decision that he has to make. That is not a decision I can make. What President Mahinda Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Chamara Rajapaksa all believe is that politics must now be handed over to the next generation. That is exactly why we are appointing new organizers for the party and building up new leaders at the village level.
The entire world is focused on the US-Iran peace agreement.
Onel Kamaratunga is ready to bring us the very latest.
Yes, thank you, Sharon and Naviksha. Now, a memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran was signed via a digital process. The agreement was signed with the participation of President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance from the American side and Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf from the Iranian side. This was carried out amid reported tensions between Washington and Tel Aviv over the ceasefire framework, which Israeli officials privately described as highly unfavorable and potentially limiting Israel's military options going forward.
US President Donald Trump said that the Memorandum of Understanding with Iran has been fully signed through a digital process and that the Strait of Hormuz will be completely reopened by Friday. Speaking during the G7 summit in France, Trump stated that he would soon announce the key elements of the agreement reached with Iran.
I think pretty soon. I would say, I want it to be released because it's a very powerful document. It's not like the Obama document, which was just a terrible document. This is a very powerful document, and I want it to be released. So probably pretty soon. I would say sometime after Friday, because the strait opens completely. It's open now, but it opens completely. We'll have all the mines knocked out of, for the most part. We have a lot of lanes right now already.
Mr. President,
so I think sometime in the very near future. Yeah.
Mr. President, does the deal involve any sanctions relief for Iran? When would that go into
effect? No, it doesn't. Well, they have to. It's really a behavioral thing. If they do what they're supposed to do, that starts taking effect.
Mr. President.
Iran has also confirmed that the Memorandum of Understanding was signed through a digital process. The Iranian National Security Council emphasized that the agreement is expected to bring an end to hostilities across all fronts, including Lebanon. Under the terms of the MOU, Iran warned that any Israeli attacks on Lebanon or continued occupation of its territory would be considered a violation of its agreement with the United States. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that US-Iran talks will be held in two phases following the signing of of the MOU in Geneva next Friday. He said the first phase will focus on the situation in the Strait of Hormuz, the US naval blockade, and reconstruction efforts following US-Israeli strikes on Iranian infrastructure. The second phase of the discussion will focus on Iran's nuclear issue and the easing of sanctions.
Japan's central bank has increased its main interest rate to a new 31-year high after a surge in global energy prices. The Bank of Japan raised its so-called policy rate to 1% from 0.75% to a level not seen since 1995. The decisions come as some other central banks have raised interest rates this year as the repercussions of the Iran war pushed up the cost of living. Japan's interest rates were cut aggressively in the 1990s to combat the fallout from a collapse in prices of assets like property and shares. They had been near zero for 2 decades as prices fell and growth stagnated. The bank has been gradually raising its rate since March 2024. At the time, it was the country's first hike in 17 years. The Bank of Japan has been under pressure to cool inflation, which was extremely low in the country until relatively recently. Higher energy prices have fueled inflation, adding pressure on countries like Japan that depend heavily on oil and gas from the Middle East. Japan's wholesale prices climbed more than 6% in May from a year earlier, rising at the fastest pace in 3 years. But the country's overall inflation rate, which was 1.4% in April, currently sits below the Bank of Japan's target level of 2%. The UK Environment Secretary has objected to a €10 billion rescue proposal for Thames Water because it would place an undue burden on consumers, pushing the troubled utilities firm closer towards public ownership. Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Emma Reynolds wrote to the regulator Ofwat on Monday to raise concerns about the plan for the UK's biggest water company, as she is worried that customers will lose out.
Comes to this statement, Secretary of State Emma Reynolds.
It is understood Reynolds is also concerned the deal would lead to reduced performance standards and delays to vital infrastructure improvements. Ofwat was close to a deal under which the struggling company would avoid any new fines over sewage leaks for 4 years in return for a cash injection into the business from its creditors, which would take over the company. Reynolds said today, quote, Thames Water customers have been let down for far too long. Within 15 years of underperformance, increasing serious pollution and customers left to pick up the bill.
Would be extremely costly to the taxpayer.
Reynolds is concerned the rescue package would place an undue burden on consumers, according to the Times, which first reported her concerns. Today, 107 members of Parliament, including 42 Labour MPs, signed an open letter to Ofwat and Reynolds calling on them to reject the latest deal put forward by Thames creditors and bring the company into special administration, a form of temporary nationalisation. Earlier this month, Andy Burnham said Thames Water should be nationalised, revealing that public ownership of water companies would absolutely be an option under his potential leadership of the Labour Party. Burnham, Labour's candidate in the Markerfield by-election, had previously called for greater public control over the companies and told foreign media this could mean nationalisation.
Surprised that there aren't many back.
Weather first.
It is now time to take a look at today's weather report.
Viera Virakon has the details.
Yes, now according to the Department of Meteorology, several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragama, northwestern, Gaul, Mathura, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Now showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in Over and eastern provinces and in the Mullaithu district. Fairly strong winds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills, southern and north central provinces and in Trincomalee districts. Now, as always, the general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers.
News First, main sponsor.
2 countries, 2 degrees within 4 years. Call ACBT.
A roundtable discussion organized by the High Commission of India in Sri Lanka was held yesterday under the theme Rupee to Rupee, Strengthening the India-Sri Lanka Commercial Corridor.
A landmark roundtable discussion titled Rupee to Rupee, Strengthening the India-Sri Lanka Commercial Corridor, organized by the High Commission of India in Sri Lanka, was held in Colombo yesterday. Speaking at the event, the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, revealed a landmark regulatory amendment that allows Indian banks in Colombo to extend Indian rupee-denominated loans directly to Sri Lankan importers.
In October 2025 came a landmark step directly relevant to this roundtable. The RBI amended the Foreign Exchange Management, Borrowing and Lending Regulations to permit authorized dealer banks, both in India and their branches abroad, to extend rupee-denominated loans to residents of Bhutan, Nepal and Sri Lanka, including banks in these jurisdictions, specifically for cross-border trade transactions. An Indian bank's branch here in Colombo can now lend in Indian rupees to a Sri Lankan importer buying Indian goods. A Sri Lankan bank can borrow in INR to finance trade with India without touching the dollar at all. This is not incremental reform. It is a structural shift in how regional trade finance can work. This is part of a broader strategy.
Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, expressed his views on the objective of transforming the India-Sri Lanka commercial corridor.
As we look ahead, our objective should be clear. That is to transform the India-Sri Lanka commercial corridor into one of the most efficient, inclusive and digitally connected economic corridors in the region. To achieve these, several priorities deserve our collective attention. So first, we must continue to strengthen trade and investment linkages, as one of the steps is to introduce INR LKR trade, creating great opportunities for businesses of all sizes and encouraging deeper integration into regional and global value chains. Second, we should accelerate digital and financial connectivity. Third, we should ensure that growth is inclusive and sustainable. Finally, we must continue to build on the spirit of trust and partnership that has characterized India-Sri Lanka relations for generations.
The event was attended by senior representatives from leading Indian banks, Sri Lankan banks, industry representatives, chambers and think tanks.
Fitch Ratings has said that the Central Bank of Sri Lanka's tighter capital treatment for gold-backed lending will have a mostly manageable impact on rated banks and finance companies' capital ratios while supporting risk profiles. Now, the impact on Fitch-rated finance companies is likely to be larger than on banks because gold-backed lending accounts for a larger share of their loan books and underwriting has been more aggressive.
Sri Lanka's financial sector is set for a gradual adjustment following new central bank rules on gold-backed lending, with Fitch Ratings noting that while the changes will increase capital requirements, the overall impact on banks and finance companies should remain manageable. Fitch says it expects only a modest effect on banks' capital ratios due to their lower gold loan exposures. However, Fitch said that the effect will be more pronounced for 4 Fitch-rated finance companies, but should remain manageable given buffers over the regulatory minimum. It noted that lenders expanded gold-backed loans rapidly following vehicle import restrictions as low-risk weights made the product capital efficient. Fitch said that while the revised framework is credit positive from a prudential perspective and complements lower LTV caps introduced in May 2026 to curb aggressive growth, lenders are still likely to favor gold loans, which have lower capital intensity than other products. The final impact on banks and finance companies may be lower than estimated if lenders rebalance portfolios before the changes take effect on the 1st of September 2026, provided gold prices do not drop materially. Fitch does not expect rating impact due to the new directive, as the most affected issuers are either support-driven or have adequate capital buffers.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs today launched a new digital platform to handle complaints and consular requests from Sri Lankans living overseas.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs officially launched a mobile application for Sri Lankan migrant workers. The mobile application, called Lanka Connect, was officially launched today as part of an initiative to modernize and streamline services across all foreign missions.
3.
that all of us have been waiting for. Honourable Minister, over to you.
Every Sri Lankan who travels overseas carries a dream.
Developed by Sri Lanka Telecom, Lanka Connect functions as a centralized portal for Sri Lankans overseas. The application allows users to register labour issues, request counselling and submit grievances directly to administrative personnel through a mobile interface.
The mobile application that we are launching today represents an important milestone in our efforts to modernize and strengthen support services for Sri Lankan migrant workers. The application will help bridge distances and strengthen communication between migrant workers, Sri Lankan missions abroad, Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment and other institutions responsible for their welfare and protection.
When a Sri Lankan migrant worker faces a problem far from home, where can they turn to for help? Today, with the launch of Lanka Connect, the government of Sri Lanka is helping to ensure that the answer is clear, accessible, and only a few clicks away. For many migrant domestic workers, seeking help is not easy. Distance, isolation, lack of information, fear of retaliation, and barriers to accessing institutions can leave workers feeling alone when problems do arise. Lanka Connect helps bridge that gap.
The app is now integrated with Sri Lankan embassies and consulates worldwide. This digital platform aims to directly replace the previous manual paperwork system for submitting labour and welfare grievances from abroad, as well as reduce physical queuing at embassies and provide users with real-time status tracking on their inquiries.
As part of the United States Freedom 250 celebrations, renowned American musicians Dr. Tatsuya Daniel and Mickey Hansen are visiting Sri Lanka to promote cultural exchange through music. Dr. Tatsuya and Mickey Hansen have spent the past several days collaborating with students and musicians across the island, including a performance at the American Center in Colombo today. Newsfirst's Hashimi Patirana has more.
United States and Sri Lanka have long been connected through bilateral engagement, political diplomacy, defense cooperation, and even music diplomacy. As part of the United States Freedom 250 celebrations worldwide, the U.S. Embassy in Colombo is once again turning to the power of music to continue and strengthen such bilateral engagement through music. And today we are witnessing such great performance by Dr. Tatsuya Daniel, a musician all the way coming down from the US. Here is Music Beyond Performance by Dr. Tatsuya Daniel and Mickey Hansen. Acclaimed US musicians Dr. Tatsuya Daniel and Mickey Hansen are currently in Sri Lanka as part of the United States Freedom 250 celebrations, participating in a series of performances, workshops and musical engagements aimed at fostering cultural exchange and musical collaboration. The visit has seen the duo engage with young musicians and university students across the country through a range of activities, highlighting the power of music to connect communities. On Sunday, Dr. Daniel and Hansen performed alongside members of the National Youth Orchestra of Sri Lanka, which comprises talented students from schools across the island.
The Tatsuya Daniel Orchestra that has a mission of bringing the world together through music, and the orchestra has traveled to almost 40 countries since 2024. So I'm here working with various groups in Sri Lanka, for example, the National Youth Orchestra of Sri Lanka and the University of Performing Arts, to bring this story and bring this mission to relevant audiences in Sri Lanka. We've also been part of and integrated into Freedom 250 and many events going on, not just here in Sri Lanka, but around the world. I'm looking forward to expand this initiative of the Tatsuya Daniel Orchestra and also really bringing diplomacy through music.
The program today continued with a special performance and interactive question and answer session at the American Center of the U.S. Embassy in Colombo. The event was attended by members of the American Center in Colombo as well as students from several universities. Dr. Tatya Daniel, performing several musical pieces composed by himself, collaborated with students from the University of Visual and Performing Arts, showcasing a diverse performance alongside musicians playing instruments such as violin, viola, cello, double bass and keyboard. The series of engagements forms parts of the United States Freedom 250 celebrations, commemorating the nation's 250th anniversary and promoting people-to-people connections through cultural diplomacy.
The 10th ABU Media Summit on Climate Action and Disaster Prevention, held alongside the ABU AI Forum 2026, opened in Bhutan today.
The 10th ABU Media Summit on Climate Action and Disaster Prevention, together with ABU AI Forum 2026, viewed as a key platform for technology-enabled media responses to climate action and disaster risk reduction in the Asia-Pacific region, inaugurated today in Paro, Bhutan. The summit is being held under the theme From Awareness to Action, Intelligent Media for Climate Resilience and a Safer Future. At the opening session, welcome remarks were delivered by Dorjit Hashi, Chief Executive Officer of the host broadcaster, Bhutan Broadcasting Service, Ahmed Nadim, Secretary General of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, and Dasho Tashi Wangmo, Secretary of the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Employment of the Royal Government of Bhutan, were also present at the summit. Newsfirst Director of New Media Janitha Mandis participated in the summit, representing Sri Lanka and the Maharaja Media Network. At today's session, he explained how disaster communication functioned during a major crisis in Sri Lanka when widespread power outages and network failures disrupted connectivity, citing the example of Cyclone Ditwa's landfall in Sri Lanka last December.
At that time, we had a very big problem because all the power generation connectivities are also gone. And so one of the most important thing was SMS alert service, because that time data services are also not working, and SMS alert did a pretty good job with a small message. People got the information and they leave from those areas. So when it comes to the disaster time, SMS alert is very important at the moment also. But we are thinking that we are in a digital era now, it's gone. But in this time of period, it is pretty much important. We lost the communication because island-wide communication is lost. And we started our TV broadcasting and TV live continuously. And what we did was we started a WhatsApp number hotline displaying on the screen that people to send the videos to us. So what they did was, so some of the areas, one area is called Aranayaka, one of the person contacted me directly and gave some good drone footages that 6 mountains landslides. So that time, no authority was also know about this incident. So then only we put a special breaking news regarding that Aranayaka area, and then only the authorities also reached there for the recovery works.
The 3-day summit, being held from the 16th to the 18th June 2026, will also feature discussions on how AI can be actively and responsibly utilized in journalism, data analysis, early disaster warning systems, and countering misinformation related to climate action.
Sri Lanka officially launched the National Export Development Plan 2026-2030. Now, this is a comprehensive strategy aimed at transforming the country's export sector and achieving an export earnings target of $30 billion by the year 2030.
Marking a significant milestone in Sri Lanka's economic development, the National Export Development Plan 2026-2030 was officially launched today. The National Export Development Plan 2026-2030 is a flagship national initiative developed in line with the policy direction of the Government of Sri Lanka under Budget 2025, with the objective of strengthening the country's export sector and advancing sustainable export-led economic growth. The framework was prepared by the Sri Lanka Export Development Board with technical assistance from the Asian Development Bank under the policy-based lending program of the Ministry of Industry and Entrepreneurship Development.
This is a top priority that is tabled on this stage, because for our agri exports, even to sustain, we are next 1 or 2 years in terms of traceability and getting the supply chain ready. So at the same time, that also calls us to bring NTIs, because I don't see a fragmented agricultural supply chain can invest enough in terms of making this significant transformation a reality. So that is why we need to work in these both angles while we improve our supply chain, including rubber and rest of the raw material, because it gives us a greater value addition rather than importing raw material. Other side, we need to bring in the technology and the know-how through the FTA.
The NEDP represents a comprehensive and consultative effort undertaken in close collaboration with key government institutions, private sector stakeholders, development partners and other relevant entities, providing a coherent strategic framework and actionable roadmap to enhance Sri Lanka's export competitiveness and diversification during the period 2026 to 2030.
The thrill of the 2026 FIFA World Cup continues.
To bring us the very latest from the sports arena, we are now once again joined by Viara Virakon.
Yes, now in your latest sports news, in the FIFA World Cup 2026, 4 intense matches of the 2026 FIFA World Cup were held today, and all those matches ended in draws. The draw between the powerhouse Spain and Cape Verde, which is playing in its first World Cup, has drawn the attention of many.